Welcome to the brand new season of K-Pop Bible. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, also joined by...
Hey guys, I'm Lee.
And I'm Cece.
And today, we're getting into some hot topics. The latest releases, like SOMI's Ice Cream, HYOLYN's Wait, and speaking of wait, you should wait till the end where we get into our hot debate about BTS's Suga and his most recent case.
So we're gonna start with HYOLYN and her newest track. How do we like it, guys?
I would have liked this to have been a Sistar song instead. And I don't understand how it couldn't happen because you had Bora do the challenge. And then Dasom, she was on TikTok recently singing the song as well.
So you just did a TikTok challenge with her?
She needs to stop teasing this. Like, give us the Sistar comeback that we need.
I mean, some of the members are probably like, we're tired. We've danced in heels for how many years? Our ankles are tired. I don't want to have to diet on cucumbers anymore. Like, you know.
If I was a member of Sistar, I wouldn't want to come back because I feel like it gives very much her show. Like, no shade. How many lines did Bora have?
Like Pussycat Dolls vibes?
Yeah, it's like I don't remember Bora really having a stand-up. It was all her, which again, she's an amazing singer, amazing performer, but I would not want to play second fiddle to her all over again.
We should discuss like the controversy over her tan, and some people are, wondering whether or not she did that naturally or she enhanced it so that she could appear darker. So do you guys think it's a form of blackfishing?
I wouldn't go so far as to say it's blackfishing, but more so trying to enhance that like island vibe because she's naturally a deeper complexion. And did she grab the self-tanner? Possibly.
I think this is very bad timing that she is like blackfishing on top of she just let a certain word spilled.
I agree with the timing isn't right, but if she never said that, I think this would have just been another great like summer track. And then the people that are like, oh, but it's like Tyla, I'm like, it's a genre of music and different artists will tap into different genres. And like K-pop is notorious for tapping into whatever genre black people are into. So
I'm sorry. She said the N-word. She was wearing a do-rag in the video at one point. She don't get a pass from me. She needs to stop it. I live for her. But I just needed her to not grab the tanner, just be natural, be soft.
So how would we actually rate the song?
I would give it like a nice 4.
Same. It's a vibe. And also the dance is a vibe. So it's just a vibe all the way around.
So let's actually transition and talk about Taemin's comeback. So he came back with a title track called Sexy in the Air. What are your thoughts?
It's star of stage and screen Lee Francesco Taemin doing what star of stage and screen Lee Francesco Taemin does. I love the video. I think it was sexy. I think it was cool. Taemin can do no wrong in my eye. He could have really just did a whole song reciting the Korean phone directory. I just feel like Taemin just can't do any wrong. And I'm happy that he has left the dungeon and he's going to be doing his own thing. But overall, fabulous.
I just say because this is like Taemin is Taemin and he is the ultimate performer. He is the OG Golden Magnet. He's just amazing.
Stop before BTS comes to you. Girl, you can't say Golden Magnet.
I am a proud multi-stan. I can say what I want.
So when Taemin was teasing his comeback, there were a few ARMY that pointed out that his teasers seemed to reminisce Jimin's discography. So a lot of people were saying that Taemin was ripping off Jimin's aesthetic. So I just wanted to discuss that a little bit because it's something that I've seen mentioned a lot. And on top of that, it's really sad because, we all know that Jimin and Taemin are best friends. So it's like, why can't their fans get along?
Because some of these new K-pop fans weren't in the trenches.
And they're hateful. I mean, let's be honest. Jimin has said that Taemin has been an influence to him for a number of years. And I think looking at the video, I feel like Taemin was referencing some of his past zhuzhes. It's just ARMY. Like, unfortunately, we can't name certain people without BTS being a part of the conversation, even though they don't need to be part of the conversation. Aren't they in, like, the military?
Jin is back. And Hobie's back soon.
And again, I just feel like what Taemin did wasn't particularly groundbreaking itself. Like, even he references other things. So, I don't know. I just thought they were reaching. Let Taemin have his moment in the sun.
It's a bop. Sexy's in the air.
So, Angel, you here are the only registered member of the Army Party. You go to the summits, the meetings. Did you think Sex in the Air was giving Jimin in any shape, way, or form?
Well, this is the thing. My alt group is SHYNY, so I am a showl before I'm anything else. So as someone that can see both sides of this, it's like Jimin and Taemin are such besties that they're one and the same, and it's like it wouldn't be lost on me if they like had conversations about their concepts and like what they wanted to go for and what they wanted to do, because it's like at the end of the day, and I think a lot of fans need to understand this, we are fans. We don't know the phone conversations that happen behind the scenes. We don't know what happens while they're eating their barbecue and drinking their soju. We do not know any of that.
We don't know what happens at the billiard clubs.
Exactly. It's like they're chilling. They're probably just like, oh, I love your comeback. Oh, Young, I love your comeback. Oh, I love your comeback too. Oh, this is a vibe. Oh, this is cool. So it's like they're vibing and they're happy. And if they're happy, then like their fandom should also be happy. But then some fans like to kind of like guard their artists. It's like, no, only my artist can do this. Only mine can. And it's like, no, people collaborate, people discuss, and it's all a good time. By the way, we were talking about new women now, Lisa and Rosalia.
I actually liked the video. I thought it was really cute. I actually like the pairing of them two together. I'm not the biggest Lisa or Rosalia fans.
See, Lisa is my bias in Blackpink.
Blackpink in your area.
So ever since that rehearsal video where she's a bitch better have my money. That whole video, I knew she was gonna be a star. She knows what she's doing. She works the room. Since debut, she's like, I got this. And now she's free to be the new woman that she is, you know, gallivanting around Europe with people.
With, you know, a billionaire heir, you know what I mean? Just chilling, you know what I mean?
And she's just living her absolute best life. And I'm like, you go be a new woman. And her music video really like says like, now I got money to drop on a video that I think, you know, expresses the artistry that I want to express.
Yeah, no, those Celine checks are going to good use.
And you know, I really do love that she's trying to do something outside of the K-pop genre, because you know, when you think of soloists in K-pop, they usually tend to stick to a certain like archetype, but Lisa is expanding outside of that. Like this song was a lot more experimental, and I love that she included Rosalia in it. It was just nice to have that contrast, because Lisa's part was like very experimental, and then you had Rosalia who like slowed it down and made it a little bit more
sensual.
Yes, and I felt like that was nice. The music video was so dope. I loved that she actually had it directed by the guy people were claiming that she was biting off in her last single, Rockstar. I loved that her label, instead of choosing to just kind of like glance over it, they decided to reach out to him and be like, hey, let's collaborate on this new music video that we have for her. And I thought that was great, because like in the industry, it's really hard for you to have ownership of your own craft. And I just love that she was able to give him that kind of like spotlight. But how do we feel about her being nominated for the VMAs? And also she was confirmed that she's going to be performing. And by the way, the VMAs will be here in New York.
I think what's hard is that it's nominated in the K-pop genre. It's hard because what really makes a K-pop song, it is in English. But I think on top of it being an English song, Lisa herself is not Korean. I think that's where a lot of the controversy of her being nominated in that category comes from. But I was thinking, she's worked in K-pop for how many years? She's earned her stripes in K-pop. Like, I just feel like just let her have this moment, because there's a chance where she may not win.
Well, I know the executives were probably like, she won Best K-pop before, and we know her as Blackpink, so just like put her in the same category. Like, they don't care. So they're just like, just put her over here. It's popular, gonna gain us views on TV, but I also hope that
it's just a ratings boost. Like, you know what I mean?
But I am excited for her to perform her song like solo.
Right, because the VMAs have lost a lot of viewership throughout the years. Like, I remember that being like the thing when we were young. Like, I would literally clear out my whole night to watch the VMAs, because I would love to see the stars. Like, I would love to see Britney Spears, because you know she was gonna give you something. Like, even when she did her performance for Gimme More, and people would say that that was her worst performance of all time, like, I lived, because it's like, as a child, like, seeing that, you're like, damn, like, you know, if Britney can go out looking like that.
That's how confident she was in her stardom. She's like, I'm gonna lip sync And I'm just going to walk around the stage.
And I'm going to eat these Cheetos.
And you going to live. And we did.
So, you know, I'm kind of like excited to see what Lisa's going to do because I know that she takes a lot of influence from Western artists like Rihanna. I would love to see her bring that level of performance to the VMAs.
And she can do it. The girl can perform. The girl can dance. You know, Lisa's one of those artists that it's live vocal optional for me. I don't really care if she lip syncs or not. As long as she gets those counts in, that's all that matters. I am a little bummed that Lisa's performing, but Tinashe isn't. But we're not going to get into that because, you know, Lisa, we will give you your flowers. You had a really nice year because she was teaching all the kids Japanese.
I mean, I'd say it's a treat, like something else.
Yeah, like ice cream, right? If you didn't know, we're moving on to SOMI's ice cream. The doll this is her first comeback in how many months?
No, Fast Forward wasn't that long ago. I live for Fast Forward, let me tell you. Fast Forward was like, I need a disco ball, I need a cocktail in hand, and I need to whip my ponytail.
I wish the dance went in more on the Vogue influence. I wish she would have really...
Well, that's when you look at the backup dancers, because I don't remember his name, but when you see the bald one, you know it's going to be a sleigh.
But what do we think about ice cream? Because ice cream is a complete creative visual 360 from what Fast Forward was. How do we feel about it?
And I don't think it was her choice, to be honest.
I think she gives Girl Next Door, yeah, but I don't think she gives this whole 1950s retro thing. Like, if anything, knowing how SOMI is, she's a very current, trendy girl. So I just wish that the comeback went with that.
Well, it's not even a comeback. It's a special release. But I'm like, why?
Right. It's like you could have just put that focus on her main comeback track. But I think the reason was because she's sort of used to coming back during the summer. That's something she talked about in an interview. And then she also revealed that it takes her company a whole year to write a song. And so when fans heard that, they were really upset because they were like, what do you mean it takes you a whole year? Like, yeah, I can understand it taking a whole year for it to be a whole creative process.
Like, if it was an album, like if she released an album once a year, that would make sense.
Like, also, with the connections that the Black Label has, you can't pull in some extra production and some extra writing to get a good bop in like 2 months. Like, it should not take you 12 months for one song. And I'm gonna put a WH1 on that. Because that is because that's a leaf in the wind when it should be a pelican flying through the sky of an album.
And not even a great song.
It is crazy that this is how her career now is, because remember when we were calling her like the nation center? Like, she was, for those that are young, there was a show called Produce that produced groups.
I can't believe that's history now. Oh my God.
And the number one choice would be the nation center. Other stars include Khan Daniel and Wonyeon. And look how their careers are turning out. And we look at SOMI, who is the original, it just doesn't make sense.
We have enough cutesy. We have enough sexy. We need something we can dance to. Especially in this economy, we need something we can dance to. And I feel like she can really deliver in that category. And she has before with like some of her other tracks, like What You Waiting For? Baby, I've been waiting. Like, that was a bop. Like, and then once you feel that and go like, okay, what you waiting for? Fast forward and you're like, oh, fans are liking this. Run with it a little bit. Stop trying to go, oh, we need to do this, do that. That's where you get a year to make a song and then the momentum's over and then you're questioning why it's not getting as much traction as you want. Find the vibe, fly with that vibe, and then once you have about like a good year or two of like stuff in the background, that's when you start thinking about, okay, now where can we take her beyond like the dance vibe? But like, don't try to do that while she's actively promoting.
And I get it, like, people are saying, like, oh, the Black Label has this new girl group coming up, and that's why they've been focusing on that. But I'm just saying, like, y'all could have put together a better song in, like, a year.
Like, even Rosé is now on the Black Label, and Rosé is a songwriter. So, like, let them work together. Something.
I will say I am looking forward to her title track when it comes out. We will be tuning in and reviewing it because SOMI has a lot to prove to us.
Well, guess what's the opposite of cold ice cream? Hot topics.
We're going to be first talking about Waterbomb LA. So it's been announced that it's going to happen on September 28th and the 29th. It's going to be hosted at the Dignity Health Sports Park. And contrary to people wanting it to be a 21 plus event, it's actually going to be 18 plus. So some of the artists that are going to be performing are ATEEZ, Simon Dominic, Hwasa, Gray, Quantum B, PH1, Big Naughty, Ash Island, J Park, Jesse, Loco, Chungha, and the last two acts are K-Will and Ru Sejong. Now looking at this lineup, how do we feel? Like, do we feel like we could have swapped some acts for other people, or are you satisfied with what was given?
It's giving some stars, not all stars. And when I say some stars, no disrespect for the acts, but it's just like, this is their first Waterbomb in America now. And so I was thinking like they would have like their all-star lineup from Korea and bring it here. Like some of these acts, I don't think the general public really knows.
Well, this is really for the general public. Like, I feel like this is more for like people that listen to K-pop and K-R&B. Like, I don't think they're trying to welcome like Sabrina Carpenter fans to go like, come to Waterbomb. Like,
So I'm actually one of those girls that actually booked her flight before this lineup came out, and I'm actually thinking about canceling that because I was expecting Taemin to be on this timeline.
I mean, Taemin would have made sense for him to come.
give me Team BB. I want to do Smoke Ya, I'm gonna smoke ya.
I thought Taemin was gonna be that. I thought Baekhyun was gonna be that. I thought Nayeon was gonna come through. Like, I was expecting so many other artists, and I understand that it's a K-R&B focused event, but even this lineup just feels like, I don't know, it doesn't satisfy me.
Well, this is the thing also, like, and I won't go too far into this wormhole, but I will say it's giving kind of like K-Con promotions. Because we're like, what, almost a month away from this festival, and like tickets haven't even dropped yet. And it's like, I think that still a lot of companies think that most K-pop fans live in LA, because of course there is like a large Korean American population there, but it's also like people got to fly out, people got to get hotels, and now hotels and flights are expensive. Had you said this in March and released this in March and then put it on sale like late March, early April, you would have had sold out, everyone excited, influencers going, oh my God, Waterbomb's coming. But like the delay.
I heard that there's going to be a Waterbomb New York, and now that I'm looking at this lineup, I'm like, I feel like if this is what you're giving LA, who is like your favorite child, like you're going to give us like the worst lineup ever for New York.
I don't even think New York's even going to happen at this point, because like end of September, it's going to start getting cold out here. And so you can't really have like Waterbomb indoors. Oh, I mean, you could, but like it would be weird. So it's like, I don't even think Waterbomb New York's even going to happen this year anymore, considering how these promotions are going. Companies keep avoiding New York lately because of like low ticket sales. But the reason there are low ticket sales is because y'all keep price gouging the ever-loving crap out of these tickets. If you had actually like, you know, like, yes, like have like your basics covered, and then you do a little markup for profit. But when you're trying to charge like Coachella prices for these 2-day festivals, I'm like, that's not how this works. And then you're going to see low ticket sales, and then you're going to go, what's happening? It's like, well, you're not appropriately pricing the event for the market.
Maybe we can go through these acts and see if we can sell you on keeping your ticket.
Well, I've seen J Park shirtless at Head in the Clouds Festival, and that was glorious. I'd be like, hold on, wait a minute, girl.
My only thing is like, how many times is J Park going to do that before it's just tiring?
I'm not tired. I'll keep streaming it.
Would you want to see ATEEZ?
I'm looking at these little clips I be seeing on my timeline about Sion.
I saw ATEEZ at Citi Field. I was in the trenches of Citi Field, okay? I saw the real Waterbomb, okay? So I
saw that everywhere, and I felt so bad.
And I had floor seats. I was on the floor. And let me tell you, they put on a show. We were hype. I know Hongjun was mad at some staff member got cussed out by that leader.
So the next hot topic we're going to discuss is actually the Black label finally revealing that they're going to release a new girl group called Meow. But it's actually spelled MEOVV. So how do we feel about the two artists that they revealed?
Oh, the one that's really rich?
There was one who was a chaebol, but she ended up leaving the group. No one knows why, but I remember that being like a huge thing because people were saying like, oh, you're so rich. Like, why are you putting yourself through the struggle of being an idol? So I guess she like came to her senses and decided not to do that.
Or she was like, I'm rich. I don't have to put up with any of this. Leave.
The first member that they revealed, her name is Ella, And she's actually already known as Little Jenny in Korea. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that YG is really desperately trying to recreate the success they had with Jenny? Or do you think that's just like a cute like little nickname that they gave her because she kind of resembled Jenny when she was younger?
I just think the girl looks like Jenny, and it also creates like a little bit of buzz when like you call someone the next this, the next that. And I think they could just be doing that to stir it up.
I'm just thinking they're going to debut and then we're going to have to wait 5 to 10 business years for their next comeback. So
I feel like, yeah, like they're definitely going to follow in the same path as Blackpink, where they're not going to have them come out as often because they think that that brings some mystique and mysteriousness to their image and makes them cooler. But in actuality, it's just the reason why Blink's ride for Blackpink so hard is because of the things they did outside of the music and the connection that they were able to build with their fans, not necessarily because of these prolonged comebacks, you know? Actually, I did see this TikTok where they compared the comebacks of other girl groups following the Blackpink timeline, and it stated like if we were to follow Blackpink's timeline, like what era would these groups be in? And it was so devastating.
if you compare even twice to Blackpink,
I mean, we've seen what the Black label has done with SOMI's career. And other artists like
Lehigh,
that's who I wanted to talk about. We have seen what they've done with these artists and just like completely shelved them.
YG needs to change that model, because when you really look at it, what acts does YG or the Black label have?
Surprisingly to everyone, 21 decided to re-sign with YG.
because everybody needs a check.
Everyone needs coin. And you know what? They realized that they couldn't do it on their own. And so they're like, girls, let's come back together. Megatron.
I'm actually really happy to see them reunited because I was a Blackjack, and like seeing the way that their career was just mishandled was like really, really depressing. And then just to see like as they're slowly building up to break out internationally and get all of this recognition, and then it all just completely disappears. And it's so sad because it's like these women had the potential to be what Blackpink is now. But I'm happy in a way because it's like Park Bom, she did her thing. She came back finally. CL, she had like a faltering solo career. Like she comes back and then she disappears and then comes back and disappears.
Remember she had an album? That one album that we waited for? She had that album.
And that's the thing that gets me upset because it's like, I know CL has the potential for so much more. And I know she wants it. But I just think that these girls are better as a group.
CL, it was the issue with like Normani. Like you keep telling us the album is on its way. Its album is on its way. You're dropping every so often a new lead single to kick off the era. Nothing happens. So by the time we got the album, no one really cared. Like, and then she didn't really promote the album.
Well, she just did Waterbomb Singapore.
Kudos on her for that. I don't know if it's just the scandal of what happened still carried with them, but like I don't think they were ever able to like pop off and do something interesting or do something that was like gonna catapult them into like being a success.
You know what? We got many a grown women that are talking to their labels. So why don't we talk about G-Idol and Cube? Or Idol versus Cube before you're like, it's not G-Idol, it's Idol. Because right now we have Soyeon kind of hinting that she does not want to re-sign with Cube. And from the rumors I've heard, none of the girls are really too keen on re-signing with Cube.
Like, let's be honest. Those girls have been carrying Cube on their back since they debuted. And knowing how Cube is, it's to a point where I don't think these girls have much to show for it at this point.
What do you mean they don't have much to show?
Much to show in terms of like these girls have expressed that they want to do dramas. They want to do their own solo activities. Mm-hmm. They want to do touring. They haven't really been doing any of that, and we know how Cube is from when 4 Minute left. Like they talked about like when they were with Cube, like Cube would be taking in like bits of their revenue and taking it and putting it towards other groups.
Oh, she's making money. They're making some money. They're popular. One of her songs made her $750K in 1 month.
It's just getting to a point where it's like, why should we stay here?
There was also a picture of her with her phone case having a P Nation business card in it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Soyeon just built her own label because she has all these residuals from all of her production and her writing. She could just build her own label and be like, girls, come join me.
Well, she might have her own label. So basically, that company that Sojin is signed to, No one really knows anything about it. They only communicate through press releases through the public. There's only one email. And the CEO on their Wikipedia, no one knows. Like, there's not anything to link him through. And people are saying that the CEO's name is an alias for
Per.
And so it's rumored that after the girls don't re-sign with Cube, they're going to go towards that company and they're all going to come back together as a sixum.
I feel like they're going to follow the trend because right now even SHINee did the same thing where it's like SM is their like group company and then they're all a part of like different companies. Well, some are still in SM, but you know what I mean. And like other groups have done that too. So like I wouldn't be surprised if they were all under Soyeon's alias label as like a group and then individually be signed to like different things.
Look at GOT7, look at formerly Beast, like they came together, they formed their own company. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I think it depends on what's more financially lucrative for the girls, because Miss Thing writes and produces, but does all the other girls have producing credits on the song? Again, I think there's a chance of, you know, it really just depends on what is the best for their pockets at the end of the day.
And money comes from money, so...
Thai princess. Tease. And again, the thing is, G-Idol is primarily fixed. There's only 2 Korean members. There's other 3. 2 of the girls can go back to China, start their own career. Minnie can go back to Thailand. So it really just, I think the girls have a lot of possibilities on their hand where I just feel like it can go either way. Speaking of going either way, let's talk about
how HyunA should run away from...
I was going to say, on the marriage or the future marriage that has all of us looking. And I just want to ask one question. Why him? She could have had anyone she wanted. Why this man?
Well, we're not the only ones because a lot of her international fan base has practically abandoned ship. And it was announced that she was going to go on a world tour. But due to low ticket sales, it had to be canceled. I mean, she was not selling many tickets. Fans are not happy with the person she's deciding to marry.
Since this is a voice-only podcast, I just want you to know that Angel is shaking her head. Just shaking. Because it's just like... And it's like, it's like you were engaged. Dawn made a custom engagement ring for you.
He spent half of his life savings on that ring.
And then you go to the Burning Sun man. And I don't care when some fans are like, oh, but he didn't do this, he did that. But like, and the thing is, it now makes it clear why the other 4 members of 4 Minute
don't deal with her.
Exactly.
I mean, and my whole thing is, I don't think she's really aware of how this is damaging to her career. Like, I really want to be in the room with her team when she was like, I'm engaged to this man. Who said yes? Who approved this?
So we're actually going to get into that in our next segment because we're going to debate about whether or not we think that fans have a right to cancel her. But before we dive into that, let's talk about our few last hot topics. And as we mentioned briefly in the beginning of the podcast, Jin has completed his military service. With that, it was announced that he's going to be Gucci's newest global ambassador. So what are our thoughts? Do we see Gucci for Jin, or would we have preferred him to have gone under another brand?
I just applaud him and HYE for always having a check waiting for these boys. Like, that's... I feel BTS is always employed. Like, BTS, there's not a day that BTS don't have a check. They don't have a deposit. I mean, so kudos to that.
Exactly. I mean, also, they have their famous line, did you see my bag? Because they always in their bag, so.
That's what we call financial abundance. Send it our way. Like, when I think of Gucci, I don't think of Jin right away. I think of Gucci being, like, very, like, nowadays, like, or is it Prada?
I think of, like, Gucci being more like Taehyung.
Yeah, because he's actually the Gucci head in BTS. So I'm actually surprised that this endorsement went to Jin.
Jin gives me, like, Chanel. He gives me Dior.
Well, Jimin's Dior.
Valentino. Like, he gives me more like...
Isn't Yoongi's Valentino?
And so I'm guessing that was the only one that was not available. Like, you know...
But yeah, the creative director came out and said that he's looking to kind of revitalize Gucci.
With Jin?
Yeah.
Like, Kai made sense with Gucci. Because Kai has that very, like, lazy sort of sexiness. That sort of, like, zhuzh. Jin just seems very buttoned up and very clean cut to me. Like, because if you know Gucci, they're a very sexy house.
Well, lately they've been kind of going more towards that kind of like dark academia vibe. So I kind of see it. And also like Jin sells out like multi-$1,000 bracelets for other brands. So like Jin can sell out whatever he wants to sell out when he wants to. And so I kind of see that like new vision of like the ties, the clean crisp shirts. They're trying to do a little more ready to wear, a little more, honestly, like Maximilian's Ferragamo in a way. So I can kind of see why they would pick Jin for like the revitalized Gucci, because they also have a new creative director. But if it was the old creative director, I would have said Taehyung all the way.
I feel like he also gives like Burberry to me. Like, I just wouldn't think of like Gucci.
But unfortunately, he couldn't even celebrate that because there was an event that he was going to, be a part of, because, once that is announced, Gucci likes to kind of do like an event just showcasing that. But it was unfortunately canceled because of Suga's incident that happened around the same time. So we're actually going to get into that just very briefly before we dive into that in our debate section. But Angel, would you like to give us the rundown a little bit of what happened?
Why me?
I mean, as the registered army representative to Congress, you are the most qualified person to speak. You know what I mean?
I mean, qualified's a big word. But like pretty much Yoongi was quote unquote driving drunk on a scooter, and there was some footage released. But pretty much the footage that was released at first wasn't even him. Let me rewind a little bit. So we have footage, we have Yoongi DUI, and then apparently the scooter fell over and he got his license revoked and whatnot. And then it was later brought up that wasn't even him in the footage. And then JTBC, who released the initial footage, had to apologize. And then Army, as they should be, are going, everyone needs to get their facts right and their stories straight, because right now, like, even today, well, not today, but recently, Yoongi was questioned for 3 hours by police, and it's like, there's a strong rumor that they're trying to cover up something that happened within the Korean government, and that's why they're trying to blow up this whole Yoongi incident. And so at first there were kind of calls for him to leave the group, but especially now that the real footage was released, people are like, what are you all talking about? This is nonsense. Of course, Yoongi and HYBE have made their statements, but all in all, Yoongi is Yoongi. He will always be Yoongi, and OT7 for BTS.
So for all that are listening, first, thank you for sticking with us. But now, as a reward, you are going to be listening to our debate time, where we, all three of us, get to debate a certain current event, a hot topic in K-pop that is just so much that it can't be one of many segments. So today, first debate topic is going to be, does HyunA's fans have a right to cancel her? Who wants to start it off first?
So I actually was a huge HyunA fan. She's like one of my favorite female soloists. When she came out, I was really into her during her Red era. I think I first accidentally stumbled into her because of Psy's Gangnam Style. And I remember that summer I was actually part of this program in the city with kids. And I had a friend who was like, during our lunch break, was like, hey, do you want to watch something crazy? And I was like, yeah, sure. So he put on that music video, and I was just blown away by just like the theatrics of it all and just like the messiness. And I don't know, I just loved it. Like, it was cute. It was a whole vibe. Like, I even went to see Psy perform at Good Morning America. So that's how much I liked it. But yeah, so I was a fan of her since then. But you know what? I do feel like fans have a right to cancel her because she's made her whole brand and music about female empowerment. And I feel like she just completely threw that away with this relationship, and I understand that you can sort of separate an artist from their music, but when their music has been so important and so integral for their entire image and what they stand for and what they've done with that, it's kind of hard to separate that. So to me, to see her just do a complete 180 of like what she stood for was like completely devastating. She needs to take a step back. I feel like everything is being completely rushed. Like, I understand that they have a history and that they've known each other for a long time, but considering the past and his current scandal that he has going on, I think that that's gonna affect them long term. Like, you know, like, is this the kind of guy you want to be with? Like, if he knows that something is happening, as what happened with the burning sun, he was part of that group chat, like he was a silent participant. Like, you can't just like stand there in silence as you see other people being abused. I've never understood the bystander effect. Like, I've always been that person in my life, like when I see injustice or I see something that's happening, like I've always been the person to stand up for that and not let that happen. I don't like the fact that his whole thing was like, yeah, I was in this group chat, but I wasn't the one filming these women. I wasn't the one raping. You were a silent participant. Like, you knew what was going on, and yet you chose to stay silent to protect your friends. Like, never did you think about going to the police to like expose them until you knew that shit was gonna hit the fan, until you found out from Guhara that she was collaborating with these reporters to expose what was happening. Like, he did that to save his own back. Like, I generally don't feel that this man feels any regret for what he did or for being a participant. I haven't seen him do anything since. Like, I haven't seen him talk about domestic violence. I haven't seen him talk about the illegal taping that is an epidemic in Korea of women in like public restrooms, even in private settings. I haven't seen him talk about any of this. Like, all he's done is just release a statement and statement after statement saying like, hey, I hope you give me a chance to start fresh. Like, okay, yeah, like, it's not just about giving you the opportunity to start fresh. It's about actually seeing the fact that you actually cared about what happened. Like, I don't feel like he cares about what happened, and I don't think he understands the gravity of the situation, and I don't think that's the kind of person she should settle with. Like, what makes you think that she's not going to be a victim of that eventually? So I don't know, from standpoint of being a fan and also being a woman, it's like, girl, what are you doing? Like, you need to reassess everything that's going on in your life. So, and that's the crazy thing, like, all of her fans have boycotted her and not like bought her music, and even despite that, she's still happy and she's still like rubbing her relationship in like everyone's face by like being public with it and like going in interviews and talking about it. I don't know, I just don't understand like the audacity that she has, like the shamelessness that she has. Like, it's really crazy to me. So I feel like as fans, we have a right to criticize that and let our artists know that, yeah, like, we don't agree with like what you do in your personal life. So especially with something as crazy as that or damaging. And we've seen the after effects that the burning sun had on like these victims, and also it's like we see how easily these men have been let go of. Like, they didn't really face punishment. Like, most of them are already out and they're still having somewhat of a career, which I don't understand. So it's like, yeah, she shouldn't get the biggest amount of backlash because she wasn't involved in that. But it's like, by being in association with that, it's like, you are the company you keep. So it's like, HYOLYN, like, come on, girl, please understand like why your fans are upset.
And the reason why I'm silent is because I am not a woman, and I would like to have space for the women to speak first.
Were you silent or were you silenced?
Both. You know what I mean? Two things can be right at the same time.
So I think, yes, I do think that her fans have the right to cancel her. Ditto to most of what Cece said, but also like, to go from Dawn to this man, I will not say his name. It's just like, it's like going from a partner that supports you, uplifts you, encourages you, wants to really see you thrive, to someone that kind of wants to just like tie you down as their wife and be like, this is my wife, to try to even boost your own social capital is just like, it's not the move. It's just not. And I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I just think it's just very, just the numbers show it for themselves. The cancellation of the world tour, like if she had, let's say Rewind was still with Dawn, even like after like the Flower song was released under P Nation, gone on a world tour, she could have sold that thing out and like done her thing because she's HYUNA. But now it's just like, girl, like now we know, especially why like there are a lot of people that are just like, ooh, we're going to distance ourselves. And fans are like, why are they doing that? And now we're like, oh, we get it now. Because it's just like, it's true. It's like, even though you're not entirely the company you keep, like the company you keep does say a lot about who you let into your vibration, who you let into your space and your energy. And his is not pleasant. So, yeah.
I'm thinking about it from a different point of view. I genuinely don't think that her and other people thought that this was going to be as big of a deal as it is. Because I think it's very multi-layered. She's known as this person since her 4-minute days. Her most successful years of her life was 4-minute, that era. And so I feel like it just seems like she's looking for that familiarity in her life, and she's sort of jumping to the nearest thing, which is him. And I genuinely think she's not thinking about this as a business decision. I think she's genuinely, because I think when you're a public figure, like you have to move accordingly. You have to take certain things into consideration. And I feel like she's taking a very simple approach of like, I'm happy and that's all that should matter. And I don't think she's realizing that. I don't think she for her world tour to cancel. I don't think she expected, for people
for her friends to distance themselves away, like Jo Kwon.
Yeah, like no shade, girl. They all went to her listening party. Namjoon was there. SOMI was there. HYOLYN was there. I don't think anyone expected for HYUNA to be canceled, especially since Kim Namjoon was there. Just saying.
For those of you listening, Lee is deciding to stare intensely at Angel. And I will just say, it's like, but it's also like politics of the industry. Like, it's just like, of course, like people are going to like go to her listening party because they're not in a relationship and they're all artists in themselves. So there is that like relatability. But it's just like when you're like, there's a difference between like you dating someone versus you dating someone and then making it a part of your whole brand. And she's dating him or engaged and making it her whole brand and like saying it like, I am with him, like all proud and stuff. And it's like, that's not something to be proud of.
And that's the thing. She does that constantly with her relationships.
Do you know what I think it is? And I'm a man saying this, so really women take this with a grain of salt. So don't read me. I think there's some people, not just women, when they create a very hypersexual persona for them, they often think to free themselves from it, marriage. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's sort of like with Marilyn Monroe. Like, I think that's why she was constantly, like, getting married and divorced. And she was searching. Because I think it's, like, the sense of, like, oh, like, if someone can see past this very hypersexual persona that I'm in, then everyone else is going to see it. You know what I mean? Because I do think, what she started when she was 15. We saw the irony video with her in that crop top and booty shorts at age 15, 16. She's always been sexualized. And I think for her, she is looking for, oh, this man is claiming me. He wants to marry me. This is going to be my out. This is going to allow me to shed this very hypersexual, judgeable image. And people are going to see me as like the good girl, domestic person that I really am. Like, that's what I think she's thinking about. Like, people are not going to see her as the saucy body of K-pop. Like I think that's what she is trying to give.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, she had that with Dawn. She could have married Dawn. She taught Dawn how to swim. And he spent half his savings on custom engagement rings. She could have just been an artsy couple with Dawn and had, I don't know if she wants to have children, but if she does, have a little artsy baby and just be artsy little family together. But instead, she's going to just swing full round to, isn't he also like Hada's ex?
He is the ex of her former best friend, Gu Hada, formerly of Kata.
And then it's just like knowing that, you know, very personal thing. It's like, okay, so you know how he messed with her psyche. Like, but beyond what fans know, she knows how he messed with her and voluntarily chose to lay up with that man and now get married to him.
For a minute, and that when she was with Q was the peak of her HYUNA-ness. Like, that is going to be that defining. And so for her, he was in her life at that time. You know, they've always been friends. Like, it makes sense for her to be like, oh, I want to just return to what I was. Because, you know, for her too, like, no shade, even before this whole scandal, what was HyunA's career doing? What was her last successful track?
But I don't understand how a relationship affects that.
Because I think she wants to relive her successes. She wants to relive in that nostalgia. And it's very common that people will connect with people from those parts of their life so that they can relive that more. And so I wouldn't be surprised if she, which again, there's more than one member in that group that she could have done that with, but she chose him. Also, he's friends with Kata. It's like everything that she no longer has in her life, he connects to. And so it makes sense why she's like, I want to be with him so I can relive the moments of my life where I was my happiest. She could have done it with Dawn. I'm not saying, because Angel is looking at me very crazy. She could have done it with Dawn. But I think the issue with Dawn was...
Well, I know why. Apparently, he wanted to have children and she didn't. And that was what led to their constant breakup and makeup and breakup and makeup cycle.
But it's understandable because for most female idols, especially a female idol of like her archetype, her having children would be the end. No shade. Because do we really want to see a mother doing bubble bop? And no, like in America, we're used to like female celebrities having kids and then bouncing back to their sexy, like Beyonce does it all the time. You know what I mean? Cardi B.
Nicki Minaj.
In Korea, I think once you enter into that phase of motherhood, certain things you can't do anymore.
And it's sad because we've seen that reality show where it was all those idols that completely aged out and they reunited to try to come back and put a girl group together. And some of them were mothers too. And I mean, there was hype around that group, but then they were just too tired. Like, they were like, yeah, we can't do more than just, this is too much on us.
But I will say this, because mark my words, and Angel likes to predict the future with her crystal ball, she's going to get pregnant by that man. Because they're going to get married and she's going to have his baby. Even though it was like, oh, they don't want kids together. He seems more of like the conservative type of like old school kind of like Sangnamja, for those of you that know. Watch, get married, have a baby. If not, have a baby just before that wedding.
We all know when an idol rushes to get married, it's because they're already pregnant.
And I just think, no shade, the reason why she didn't stay with Dawn is what I think is HyunA has been so used to being controlled by men in her life. She was not used to being with a man that wasn't running her. And Dawn don't seem like the kind of person that is controlling. He seems very nurturing. He seems very like he's one of those artsy sensitive types. He's not going to tell her what to do. And I'm sure after a while, HyunA started to get a little antsy, being like, he's not telling me what to do. You know, he's not controlling over me. He's not. And I think she sabotaged that relationship because she was only used to that sort of toxic man that's like, this is what you're going to do. This is how I want it to be. I think she couldn't handle not to be with that.
So with that, what is your consensus, Lee?
I think she deserves to be canceled. Yeah, but I'm very much in it. She's going to get knocked up to this man. I'm waiting for the reality show. Mark my words, they're going to have their own reality show on Korean television or Netflix.
Or they're going to have a subunit.
Now that I don't need. You know, the music is not musicking anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, we're going to see it crash and burn. And speaking of drunk and crashing and burning, we mentioned it earlier, but now we're going to move into Suga of BTS and the DUI heard around the world. So guys, let's get into this.
So the question is, should Suga leave BTS?
Well, since everyone's looking at me, and me being Angel, by the way, I don't know why I keep talking like Elmo, like, hey, this is my name. No. OT7 all the way. ARMY are going to pull through this. And even some K-ARMY are even like, oh, this is some bull. So Yoongi's not leaving BTS. We're going to make sure that he's not going to leave BTS. And yeah, I'll let the other two take over because my opinions are very firm. No.
Pack his ass. That's all I'm going to say. He needs to go. And listen, I was fine with the beginning, but y'all ARMY people, y'all made me want him to leave so badly.
Because Lee is just a natural born hater. And guess what BTS does with born haters? We say, ooh, yeah.
Because normally, I'm all for people making mistakes. Do I think he made a very stupid mistake? Probably. Because you're a multimillionaire. Is there not Ubers in South Korea? He could take an Uber home. So there's that. But I'm moving on. But I think how the fans have handled this situation makes me want him to leave.
Well, you could be a little sourpuss, and he's not leaving.
Because the thing is, the fact that y'all are glamorizing drunk driving on Twitter is the Suga challenge.
For those who don't know what the Sugar challenge is.
People are literally posting themselves holding beers and cocktails while in cars. That is not okay, Suga fans.
Well, I'm not doing that.
Because you're grown and you have sense. Also, the fact that, like, who's that member of 17? Sungkwan? So he recently posted because he's the face of a cast beer. Thank you, field producer. And so recently he posted a photo of drinking in moderation. This what happens if you overdrink. Real responsible fish. Real just grown teas. And you know what the ARMY decided to do? They decided to go into his Instagram comment. He has a photo pinned with his best friend Moonbeam and is basically saying, this is why your friend died. We hope you join him. We hope you drink too much and have a stroke too and die. We hope you OD. And it was like, no.
He did the ad, but he also said drinking is good in moderation, right? So it's like the timing of it all was kind of what rubbed people the wrong way. But then it's like, you can't really be mad at him. Like, he had to post that ad. Like, you know how much money these idols make off of ads on Instagram? This was already planned already. But he had to put in that little warning at the end because, you know, he doesn't want to be involved in a scandal.
Well, as a parent company, Hive needed to sort their stuff out internally. And also, I personally think that a lot of these people that are just attacking and hating aren't necessarily ARMY. Some of them try to say they're ARMY just so they can, like, tarnish ARMY's name, because ARMY are getting the right people taken down in the right places and doing actual mobilizing things to make sure that Yoongi knows that he is well supported around the world. Whereas some people will literally disguise themselves as ARMY to try to go, oh, but we're ARMY and we think this. No, you don't, because you're not actually ARMY. You're probably just a hate and blink trying to be in disguise.
So as Angel was mentioning, ARMY was able to bring down Dispatch's official Twitter. And everyone is sort of celebrating this because Dispatch is one of the news publications that actually benefited from BTS in the beginning. Like, they would post exclusive interviews with them. They would constantly post pictures of the members. And then all of a sudden, whenever these scandals blow up, they're the first publication to release the news. And so ARMY are really upset because they're like, hey, like, we basically made your entire social media presence way bigger than it was. Like, I mean, I remember ARMY was the reason why Dispatch had a lot of followers on Instagram because of the whole photo shoots that they had with the members. Like, I remember that. Like, I remember this because, I mean, we've been in this fandom long enough. Like, even if we aren't, like, I'm not an ARMY, I'm not a self-proclaimed ARMY, but I keep up with K-pop in general. And so to see them all of a sudden kind of turn their back, which I understand because it's like, as a news publication, you're supposed to remain sort of neutral, but Dispatch is not a publication that you really should rely on because, I mean, they're also the reason why a lot of these dating scandals are released. And, you know, this has had a huge psychological impact on these idols where they're afraid to even date because they already know the backlash that it's gonna have on their careers and how fans are gonna feel some type of way. So it's like, I would say ARMY do have that influence where they're able to mobilize together, and when they have a purpose they achieve that goal, and that's what they did by taking down Dispatch. But at the same time, I want to talk about the other idols who've also had DUI scandals and just the audacity people have to treat female idols who've had DUI scandals versus male idols. Like, just off the top of my head, and female idol that I can think of is Lizzie from After School. She is an idol that's been struggling with mental health issues. And we saw that before her DUI incident. Like, we saw the effect that it had when Orange Caramel stopped promoting. And she was constantly on Instagram just begging the company to do something because she wanted to promote. And so she ended up taking to substances. And that was her way of coping. I mean, her career is completely destroyed at this point. But then you have male idols on the other hand. I'm just going to use Suga as an example because it's what we're talking about. You have all these fans mobilizing to support him and say, we forgive you and we'll support you, and actually support him and buy his music and have it chart. That is insane to see the dichotomy between how fans treat female idols who don't have those prospects. Their careers are completely ruined. And then they glorify and uplift these male idols. Maybe you're not a fan of Lizzie. You're not a fan of After School. But it's like, if you're going to be about mobilizing and trying to make a difference, like, make sure to also help out these other people who've been through the same thing. I don't think this warrants him leaving the group, but I can see if there's enough pressure and if Hype is kind of placed in a situation where it's like, this is making the group look bad. I feel like, seeing as what's happened previously, where unfortunately they've had to have left the group, but BTS is completely different because they're like such a huge popular group. They represent Korea. So it's like, to kick out a member would be like a huge national thing. Like, I wouldn't call it national disgrace, but I'm going to say it's going to definitely be something that's talked about. And I don't think Korea wants to portray that image. But then at the same time, I'm also leaning towards the conspiracy theories where it's like, people are saying that this is a cover up for the government because coincidentally, this story was revealed around the same time where a news reporter who had revealed corruption within the government, he ended up dying. And so this scandal came out around the same time. And so people are saying this is a cover up because they don't want the attention to be on the first woman. I don't know. It's like, I can see the government wanting to protect BTS because they're like, they've done so much for the country. And then at the same time, also disposing them like they dispose other idols when something happens.
I have one question and then I can get into my piece. Was Lizzie's accident in a car? Because if we want to compare apples to apples, Kangin from Super Junior, that DUI incident, and where we successfully canceled that man because he deserved to be canceled. So we do cancellations where cancellations need to happen. Yoongi was on a scooter going the exact direction towards his home in the proper lane at a slow enough pace, where I do believe in the conspiracy theories that this might have been a cover-up. Now, did he get reprimanded? Was his license taken away? Yes. But to then try to go as far as some are saying of like, oh, well, he should like leave the group and face all this time and blah, blah, blah. That's not apples to apples. This is a man drinking on a scooter. And I know that, yes, people have been struck and hit and unalived on scooters in Korea. So Korean versus American lens, very different. But even within Korea, when it comes to vehicle DUIs, we have had idols successfully canceled for actually like being in a car and causing accidents. Whereas this, no one was injured. Something fell in a bush. He fell over. And when you actually look at the entire case, it's not warranting of like, oh, he needs to leave this group because he drunkenly drove on a scooter going on. Now, was it stupid? Did he deserve to get his license taken away? Like, okay, do that. But it doesn't warrant like further sentencing than Burning Sun scandal people.
So like, do you feel like the punishment is worse than the crime?
If they try to take it as far as trying to sentence him to any prison time, absolutely. It's far outweighing it. And even knowing that like BTS are kind of like the ambassadors to Korea at this point, South Korea media never really supported BTS until international people started pointing out BTS and how good they were and were like, oh my God, we love them. And then Korea went, really? Let's promote them and make them our ambassador. Korea never cared. A lot of famous people within Korea never cared about BTS until they saw the international recognition and saw the revenue coming in, because there is proof from statistics of BTS helping to increase revenue to South Korea.
But because they're cultural ambassadors and they have a role in the goodwill of the country, don't you think that they should be held to higher standards?
Not that high.
Because, public drunkenness is a crime.
Do you know South Korea?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you ate with that. You did eat. It's just hard because I genuinely think, does he deserve consequences? Yes. And I think this is an overarching theme of how Cece was saying, kudos to her dissertation, I think how we treat male idols when it comes to scandals with substances is very different to how we treat female idols.
Park Bomb, another example.
Park Bomb versus G-Dragon. G-Dragon was literally caught with a whole thing of kush, and everyone explained his way. Park Bomb, who had painkillers because homegirl needed to walk, was literally deemed a drug addict and banished to Siberia. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a certain... Yes, I think there's certain idols that has been punished for drugs. B.I., Top. But I do understand the overarching message of...
Let's not just give these men the ability to make mistakes.
Yes. Do I think he was on a scooter? Yes. Unfortunately, the Lord, there's timing. A month prior to this, didn't an old woman get killed by someone running her over on a scooter when she was just living her best elderly life? But do I think if that didn't happen, we would have been looking at this whole thing with Suga differently? Most likely, yes. But I think, unfortunately, it was just bad timing. I do think the criticism of, you are a multimillionaire. He could afford a car service. He could have, he didn't need to drive home on his scooter that night. And I think that's where the critique is stemming from. Where, for us, being girls struggling in American inflation, an Uber for us might break the bank a little bit, no shade. Versus for him, a car to go what was that, 10-minute drive?
7 minutes.
You couldn't get a car service?
This is what I will say also. I also think, because we didn't mention this part in this debate section, the improper footage being shown first of someone going faster than Yoongi was in the opposite direction from where Yoongi was going, in a different lane than where Yoongi was going, also put a lot of false accusations on this whole situation. Whereas now that the actual footage has come out and circulated, people are like, oh, wait a second, and are taking a second look at this. So it's I also just think JTBC also set them up to be attacked, because I don't know what your behind the scenes motives are, but there are a lot of allegeds floating around.
Because in Devil's Advocate, I will say, yes, I am defending Suga at this one moment. I think Korea does have that nasty habit of, they'll be like, oh, he's such a great guy, da-da-da. Something comes up. We didn't like him anyway. He should have, it's that weird gang mentality. And I do think, ultimately, let's be honest, if this happened to a member of, SF9, I don't think we would have cared. Yes, we would have been talking about it. The fact that this is BTS, I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not speaking for anyone else.
Clearly.
Listen, that's an episode for another day why I'm not. But I will give it to the girls. BTS is the biggest boy band in the world. Point blank and a period. Currently. And so I think the reality is, if it was anyone from BTS, this was going to get huge traction internationally no matter what. And guess what? People have bills to pay. And so the reporters are like, what gets us more clicks? What gets us more views? We're going to villainize him. Because again, who doesn't love a fall from grace?
I will say the way the media likes to sort of make it a circus whenever idols get into scandals is really, really sad. Just thinking about, they're humans at the end of the day, and it's the pressure they have on their shoulders of just being an idol and representing Korea, but then to have the media follow them and camp out for weeks just to get pictures of him being questioned by the police is really ridiculous. And then to have the media also not have their facts straight, it's that's your job as a journalist. It's not about being salacious. It's not about what gets the most clicks. It's about reporting the truth. And I feel unfortunately, with Korean media, they have leaned more towards the side of, we just want to report what's gonna get us trending, and we really don't care about what went on. And I think that, we need to be able to assess the way that Korean media is handling this. Apart from that, we should say that there are army that do feel like he needs to leave. When this was revealed, a report came out about him being in the military and saying that he was sleeping through his training. Now, we don't know whether that's true or not, because again, people like to just say things, but the timing of that story being released at the same time of his DUI incident is kind of like, if you had a problem with that, why didn't you voice that when it happened? Why are you waiting to share your opinion now because you see that everyone is dragging him? I think the conversation that should be had is about the drinking culture in South Korea. It is extremely toxic. Like, not only is it ingrained in work life, there's this thing that everybody goes drinking after work and people are kind of pressured to drink even though they don't want to drink. And then you have people who are literally in the streets just passing out drunk. Like, I literally read stories about that all the time, but I've also seen that in K-Town. Like, I mean, K-Town, yes, it's not fully populated by Korean population, but comparing a small population of Koreans and Korean Americans and the drinking culture they have, you can sort of see that. If I personally have seen Korean men stumbling out of bars completely blackout drunk.
Girl, when I was stomping through K-Town in my old days, people would literally be falling asleep on the street, drunk as, and it's like, excuse me, sir, it's like, okay, girl, live, work.
And alcohol is promoted by idols. You have Jenny.
Jay Park is literally called Soju Poppy, right? Is that not his? And he has this whole soju company.
I'm not saying drinking is a terrible thing. I'm saying we need to look at the drinking culture in Korea that's allowing these people to drink to excessive lengths, and then also them thinking that it's okay to still then travel back home on their own on a scooter. I think that the drinking culture there is relaxed. Like, it's not a big deal to them, but they're starting to see that consensus shift with how hard the public is going against them because they think it's disgraceful, and So we're gonna put up a poll on Spotify for whether or not you think that Suga needs to leave BTS.
Now that was a debate, and I don't think we're gonna get a consensus anytime soon. But this is where you guys can let us know what you think in the comments. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you soon. I'm Lee.
I'm Angel.
And I'm Cece. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please make sure to review us on Spotify. We'll see you next time.